Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Parashat Vayeira, is going to look at the Akeidah and look at to get an understanding of the emotional and psychological torment and pain that Avraham went through. That this is the nisayon, the test that Avraham went through, and this is conveyed by the way that the pasuk explains or gives the context of how Avraham was requested to take Yitzchak. It's split up into different sections. He was told, Kachna et bincha, et yichidcha, asher ahavta, et Yitzchak. Rather than just being told explicitly, take Yitzchak, the Torah wanted to and broke up the request into different sections. And Rashi explains and says, why was this done? It was in order that Avraham could receive greater reward. But we could ask, why? Just because there was a prolonged, extended request, in terms of breaking it up into different sections, why does that mean that Avraham receives greater reward as opposed to just being told outright? What is being conveyed by the Torah in this pasuk of et bincha, et yichidcha, asher ahavta et Yitzchak? What's being conveyed? What we can say is it really gives us a conceptualization of the level of psychological torment and trauma that Avraham was experiencing in the Akeidah, why it was the nisayon that he had to go through. Because when there are difficult experiences, trauma, abuse, there's a defense mechanism. It's an inbuilt defense mechanism that emotionally and psychologically a person will suppress, will repress the emotions, will perhaps try to ignore it, downplay it, try to rationalize, try to get to a point in order to endure and survive the trauma. And it's inbuilt, it's set up that way, because otherwise a person might just be completely overrun by the emotions, completely destroyed and broken, which can happen by the trauma and by the terror and the abuse that the person experiences. These defense mechanisms are set up in order to help the person survive temporarily. It's an adaptive response to a situation. But what it creates is a trauma and creates a maladaptive, it's a maladaptive process afterwards. And that's why a person needs to learn how to process the trauma, to be able to, in a way, disconnect from this defense mechanism that helped them in the moment of the terror and the trauma and the emotions that they were experiencing at the time. They need to learn how to disconnect and process it. But the defense mechanisms are there for a purpose. They're adaptive for a certain situation, in order to be able to, in a way, desensitize a person from the level of pain and trauma and terror that they were experiencing. What we are being told here with Avraham is that we get an appreciation that the love that the father experiences for a child is being accentuated by the pasuk. This is your son, your only son from Sarah, your only child, the one that you love. The Torah is telling us, and really is conveying, that Avraham was fully aware and experienced this extreme level of pain, emotional, psychological pain. What he was being told was to go through a terrifying traumatic experience, to take your son, the one that you love, to break that to go through and almost be prepared to give up on this unique bond with your child and to offer him up. That's what he's being told, and that's what the Torah is telling us. That for Avram, at least, this was a nisayon that he didn't downplay, he didn't repress, he didn't rationalize, he didn't ignore, he didn't try to make it into a situation where he didn't actually feel any pain and was almost disassociating from the trauma and from the terror that he was going through. We're being told by the psukim that Avraham was fully aware and experienced these emotions to their maximum level. Your son, your only son, the one that you love, Avraham did not experience this defense mechanism. He was feeling these emotions to their fullest extent. And this is what the nisayon was. This is what the greatest test that Avraham was going through, is to have this full emotional, psychological experience of this terror, of this trauma, of the Akeidah, and to still go through it, to endure it, to survive it, to be prepared to go through it. This is a message not only, from the one hand, to understand the defense mechanism that a person goes through when they're experiencing a traumatic experience, but also to understand the level of the nisayon for Avraham. For Avraham Avinu went through this experience, went through this terrifying experience there was no desensitization here, with full awareness and connection with the emotions that he was experiencing at the time. This is an appreciation of the level that Avraham Avinu was at and his ability to go through the nisayon of the Akeidah. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.